Out of control illegal immigration and massive spending to support unaccompanied minors is outrageous. And it represents the urgent need to trigger an Article 5 Convention of States to reel in a rogue government. Joining me now from Southern California, Executive Vice President of Citizens for Self-Governance, Mike Ruthenberg. So, Mike, America is at a crossroads. And the American people and lawmakers need to make some very important decisions going forward. And that's exactly why some Americans and lawmakers are pushing for a Convention of the States, Article 5. But what exactly is this, and why should people support this movement?
Thanks, Stephanie. Yes, we are at a crossroads, and we have proven that our federal officials will not make those decisions. They will not make the tough decisions. They'll continue to deficit spend, and they'll continue to take away our freedoms. And Article 5 was put into the Constitution. There are two ways to amend the Constitution, according to the 5th article of the Constitution. The second method allows for the states to call a convention of states if 2/3 of the states file what's called an application. And that application is also known as a resolution or a bill. The difference between a resolution and a bill, of course, is that a bill does have to get signed by the governor. So when we do that in the state legislators of 34 states, then the states can start to take their control back from the federal government.
There are a lot of politicians out there that are hesitant about this idea, but there is one senator, Senator Tom Coburn, during a hearing, he let Congress have it, and we have video of this. Roll tape.
I spent my time in 21 different states. I was in Ohio last week, by the way. And America doesn't trust you anymore. That's the truth. Because they don't see the actions coming out of Congress that should be coming out. And that doesn't mean that they're right all the time, but you've lost their confidence. And that's not one party, that's both. Right now, the unfunded liabilities of this country with its debt is $142 trillion. That's $1 million per family, or that's $1 million per taxpayer. Either way you break it down. Nobody knows what a trillion is, but when you're telling a young family with 2 small kids that, by the way, here's the debt burden that's coming to you over the next 25 years, you better be prepared for it.
I mean, he's talking about a very important issue, one that a lot of lawmakers don't want to talk about, especially liberals. Now, you know Senator Tom Coburn pretty well. If you could tell us about him and, how he's influenced this movement.
Well, of course, he has been traveling all around the nation, talking to lawmakers on their level with a complete understanding of what's going on. His legacy in the Congress, in the Senate, was to announce he was not going to stay more than 2 terms, and he was an absolute hawk on both deficit and pork barrel spending. As a matter of fact, the liberals called him Dr. No because he was against anything that would add to our deficit and our debt, as well as he considered to be pork barrel. He is a great honor. It's a great honor to work with him.
And we have some big news out of Oklahoma. So what happened there?
Well, Oklahoma became our 7th state to pass the Convention of States application this year. And it's pretty exciting. It joins, obviously, the 6 other states that have gone before. We have other states that are making things happen. All told, the legislative process starts in committee. It goes into one of the chambers of the legislature. It then goes to the floor for a vote, gets voted. When it gets passed, goes back to committee in the other chamber, then to the floor, then for a vote. So it's an arduous process. And a lot of people talk about legislation like making sausage. And boy, I'll tell you, it has been quite an education for me to watch them do that. Well, that's been done completely in 7 states. We're through committees we're through committees in 13 different states here in the nation this year, and we're filed in 31 states. Last year, we filed in 34 states, which is a record. It's never been done in the history of America to have concurrent resolutions for a convention of states in 34 states.
That's amazing that it's in 13 chambers right now. So what's the holdup? I know that in some states there are some politicians that want nothing to do with this, and they won't even let other lawmakers take a vote on this, like Senator Andy Biggs in Arizona. So what's up with these politicians? Shouldn't they at least bring this to a vote? Let lawmakers represent the people that voted them into office?
Stephanie, I wish it were that way, and we read our civics books and everything's supposed to work out so well, but the reality, as you mentioned, in Arizona is far from that. We know from all of our work, the grassroots have been talking to their legislators. We know we have enough votes in the House because we've passed the House in 3 years in a row. We know we have the votes in the Senate, but Andy Biggs, the president of that Senate, has decided to not let the people speak, not let their representatives speak. It is truly an act of tyranny, and we will just continue to work. Next year, he's actually running for Congress, so he won't be in that legislative body, and we certainly will get it done there. But I'll tell you what, Stephanie, that's not the biggest problem. When you can identify who your opposition is, you can work on them, you can reason with them, you can lobby them, but the real villains are the people out there in the legislature that have other ideas, other reasons why they don't want to support your legislation. Not only will they not tell you the reasons, but they won't even tell you they don't support you. They'll look you right in the eye and they'll tell you, oh yes, I'm going to vote for this. And then it gets in committee and boom, you get killed. That is a big problem in politics today.
Yeah, it's very odd. And I know that a lot of the American people would agree. Less power for the federal government and more power to the states. Thank you so much.
Our framers thought that there may be a time where the federal government has gotten too large and the states need to stand up.
Article 5 of the United States Constitution gives you and me equal standing to do one thing, and one thing alone.
The states and the people are going to demand a convention of the states where we limit their power and we return the power to us.